Okay, I said a minute ago that there's a few different ways that we can get sound into the session or arrangement view. It doesn't really matter which one we're looking at in this case, whether it's session or arrangement. But one of those ways is just to pull it in. So I want to talk about the browser really briefly. It doesn't need to be a big hoopla. It's not rocket science, but the browser is important. So if you don't see the browser, you can get it from this little triangle up here. And what we have here on the left column are kind of three big areas. We have, first, let's look at this categories. So this is kind of Ableton provided stuff mostly. So sounds, these are just like a whole bunch of clips, many of which, if not all of which, come with Live now. This is the Live library. Drums is the same. Instruments would be the different instruments that you have access to. These are MIDI instruments, right? Like what we just looked at. So the different MIDI instruments that come with Live, and we'll look at working with each and every one of these in the coming courses. Audio effects, these will be effects that come with Live, and if you don't have Live Suite, you'll see a lot less than I have here, but these are all the ones that come with Live Suite. And each of these is an effect you can put on some audio. So just like if you're a guitar player and you plug into a distortion pedal, basically the same thing. MIDI effects are things you can put on a MIDI track. Now, it's important to note here that, remember when we looked at this earlier, a MIDI signal comes in here, and that's data, that's a MIDI signal, and it comes out as audio effects, as audio here. So that means you can put an audio effect on a MIDI track. It just has to be after the signal has converted it to, the instrument has converted it to an audio signal. So you can put a MIDI or an audio effect out here. You can put a MIDI effect before it gets converted to audio. So you can put a MIDI effect over here. There are not many MIDI effects, and they're less likely that you'll use them, but we'll go over each of them when we talk about effects. Max for Live is a separate thing, and the last class in this series talks exclusively about Max for Live. Max for Live is kind of like a programming language that lives in Live that you can design your own plugins and effects with. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little tricky to use, but it's one of my favorite things about Live. I'm really into Max, so look forward to that. You can literally make the program do anything you can imagine with Max. Now, plugins. Plugins are more effects, mostly audio effects, but these are different than the audio effects in that these are from anywhere else. Audio effects are what Ableton gives you with the program. Plugins are from anywhere else. So you can go online and look for, cool plugins. You can find plugins that are cheap, you can find plugins that are expensive, and you can find a lot of plugins that are just free. Somebody made a cool plugin and they're putting it out for free. You can download those and install those on your computer, and they should come up here. There are two different kinds, audio units and VST. If I open these up, you can see some that I have installed. You won't have these on your computer. These are separate things that I've installed. So these have nothing to do with Live other than they run in Live as plugins, but they'll run inside any audio program. Here are a bunch of different plugins that I have. Clips is just a whole bunch of clips that come with Live, and samples, a whole bunch of samples that come with Live. Now let's go to this places column. This is actually pretty cool. This is not new in Live 10, but it was new in Live 9, I believe. These are just folders on my computer, and I can add or take away from them. Packs is where all my packs go. Now you can download packs from the Ableton website or from other people. Packs are basically a big bunch of Ableton stuff. So it might be plugins, it might be samples, it might be clips, it might be a session. There's a lot of stuff that can be within a pack. But these are packs I've installed on my computer. You probably don't have very many installed on yours already. User library is just your standard Ableton user library. Current project is the current project that I'm looking at and all of the samples in it. Now these, Slam Academy and Sample Library, you probably don't have a Slam Academy folder in your browser. Although if you do, you're awesome. But you probably don't. I've added those. And so what you can do is click on this add folder. And let's just say I want to put in, I don't know, let's go to one of my hard drives and say this battery folder. Sure. So I can add that battery folder here just so I can get access to it really quick. That's the only reason you would do that. I can control click and get rid of it if I don't really want it there. So I have a folder on my computer called Sample Library, which is just a ton of samples I've collected over the years. And I have one called Slam Academy, which is a bunch of samples that I use for Slam Academy stuff. So you can add tons of stuff here. You can take up all this space and add more stuff if you want. It's really great. Two more things, actually 3 more things I want to point out really quick. This collections. This is actually really cool, and this is new in Live 10. What this is we can add, you can define these to be whatever you want. So here I've said beats, and I can go into, samples and say, like, let's find a beat. Let's go into sounds, maybe. Drums. Okay, let's say I really like this beat. What I can do is control click on it and say beats. Now it shows up here. So what that means is I can tag things with beats, whether it's a MIDI clip, an audio clip, an effect, a Max for Live thing, a plugin, kind of anything I can put as beats, and it'll come up here. So what I've been using these for, and people are using these for different things, I've been using them to keep track of a few different things, like effects that I'm really into lately, plugins that I'm really into lately, beats. But you could use these however you want, and you can change the name of them. If you just Command R, you can do whatever you want with them. So they're really fun. They're really good for organizing kind of plugins that you're into, especially once you get a lot of plugins. They're great. Okay, next to last thing I want to show you is up here there's a search function. So don't forget about this. So if you're looking for, if you're like, I need a snare hit, search for snare. And then be sure you click on all results down here if you do want to search all results. Otherwise, I could go into drums, sounds, or samples maybe, or clips, but I don't want to search plugins or something like that. Then you could click this individual category. Otherwise, all results works quite well. So here I've pulled up everything that was called, that every file called snare that Live knows about. I can use the arrow keys and scroll through them real fast. That's kind of cool. Maybe I'll throw that into this session. So I can grab it right out of the browser and throw it into this session. Let's hear what that did. I didn't love that. So I'm going to delete that out of the session. And let's do that. There's an individual snare I can throw in there somewhere. In fact, since I've already got this, that's not really what I want. What I'm missing here is a kick. Let's find a good kick. That's a good kick. Let's throw that there. And let's put that on every downbeat. And let's do that consolidate thing that we did before. That was Command J. And now I can pull that out once I turn the loop on. And there we have it. Let's hear that from the top. So the last thing I want to point out about the browser is this little part down here. This is the audition. So if you click on some stuff, let's go back to our kicks. If you click on one and you don't hear it, be sure you hit this little blue thing so that you can hear it. You won't be able to hear everything. Like these NKL files won't play. Some of the MIDI file types won't play, but most of them will. See, this one didn't play automatically, but if I click it, it'll start to play. If I turn this off, it's not going to audition them. It'll show me the waveform, but it's not going to play them automatically. So if you want to scroll through them, be sure that little headphone icon is clicked blue. Cool. Okay, so that gets us through the browser. Next, let's talk about general signal flow.